Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what is up? This is ERock here. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about what I view as the top 5 wrestlers, professional wrestlers of all time. Unlike a lot of videos, I'm not going to sit here and post some crappy song and 5 pictures of people who I think are top 5. I'm going to give you the reasons of why I think people are the top 5. And let's go ahead and start it off now. Number 5, we're going to start off with a man who I think is probably one of the greatest in-ring performers and out-ring performers. That is, at number 5, I have the top 5 all time. I have Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero, yes sir. Now, when I do these top 5s, I go by, this is what I go by. I go by wrestling ability, I go by charisma, I go by mic skills, I go by gimmick. Eddie Guerrero, we go by ring skills. You know, you can just watch the match, you can understand why he's got good ring skills. The fans, no matter if he was bad or good, you know, face or heel, whatever you want to call it, the fans always reacted to him in a certain way. He comes from a big wrestling family, so he understands the business of how to get over, and he sure did, when he was with us, he sure did provide that for us. As far as mic skills, he was always funny on the mic. He could cut a good promo, but he was always that kind of comedic guy. I think that's what he did best, was the comedy. It was easy to love him, easy to hate him, either way. All right, moving on. My number 4 in my top 5 is the one and only Y2J, Chris Jericho. In the ring, there isn't many guys that can keep up with him. Even to this day, you watch some of the stuff today, you're like, holy shit, this is what wrestling should be. Not the kind of crap they try to put on our throats every Monday night. As far as mic skills, again, humorous is this guy's game. To me, comedy and wrestling, whether it be heel or face, is the way to go. Not everybody can be that, stereotypical badass, or it can be, there's guys there's vanilla guys that try to be like, I'm better than you if they're a heel, or I'm the uber face and they just be gay. Chris Jericho did none of that. He was always funny and entertaining, which is why I like him. As far as charisma, again, he's one of those guys that can maneuver the crowd either way. I think he's better as a face, but from what I've seen here lately of him on Raw and SmackDown, he does a pretty good heel as well. He can kind of pitch hit, if you know what I'm saying. As far as his gimmicks throughout the years, you had in ECW and around the world in Mexico and all that, he was Lionheart. And then when he moved to WCW, he was that he started off as Lionheart, but he became that the prick character where he was just outlandish and just, that was, to me, it's probably my favorite Chris Jericho is when he was in WCW, cutting down Dean Malenko and etc. When he used I think it was the 1004 moves, and he went through that whole spiel in the middle of the ring for like 10 minutes. Yeah, that was good stuff. So again, the number 4, top 5 of all time, definitely Chris Jericho. His spot cements. All right, now into the top 3. And my number 3 is probably a lot of people's number 1s. And growing up, when I was a kid, I grew up in the era of early 90s to the mid 90s when I was really into wrestling. This guy was my number 1 growing up. And now I'm older, I understand the business better, and I go back and watch that. I realized I was just a kid and didn't really understand. But hell, that's the fun of wrestling. Alright, moving on. Number 3, it's going to go to Bret the Hitman Hart. In ring ability, one of the most technical sound wrestlers of all time in American wrestling. As far as crowd reaction, it's well documented how the crowd reacts to Bret Hart. He said the name Hitman Bret Hart, you hear the guitar riff in the beginning of a song, and the crowd goes crazy. There's aren't many guys that, I think, other than like Hulk Hogan, he's probably the only guy whose music plays and you instantly know who it is. Charisma, he's a very charismatic guy. I mean, at first, like, if you watch his tag team wrestling, it's like kind of, watching just like kind of the guys, a lot of the guys today who just so vanilla and they don't really stand out to you. You know what I'm saying? They don't really stand out. But then I think he got it eventually. He knew what he had to do, and he became Bret Hitman Hart character we all know and love today. He's number 3 and not number 1 in my opinion because of mic skills. I know a lot of people will say mic skills aren't part of wrestling, but if you can't cut a good promo, nobody's going to give a shit about your match, no matter if you're the greatest wrestler of all time. So that's not why he's number 3, but that's one of the reasons why. And also because I met him a couple years ago, and he's a prick now. So there you go. Number 2, moving on. This is probably, I know we had a lot. I don't know what people are going to say. Chris Benoit. I know people are probably going to say Dean Malenko, etc., about the greatest in-ring performer as far as like in-ring technical prowess and all that other jazz. But I disagree with that. I like Chris Benoit. I like Dean Malenko. But my number 1 technician of all time and number 2, my top 5 has got to be the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. You can't say anything negative about his in-ring work. He can make guys who look shitty have a match with him, and they make them look fantastic. Like I said, he's the only Olympic gold medalist in professional wrestling history. So I mean, you can't really argue with that. As far as crowd reaction goes, he's only one of those guys where whether he's a heel or whether he's a face, the crowd reacts to him. Yeah, he's a heel to do that you suck thing. Or when you saw on TNA, he could be just the biggest asshole prick in the world and still be a good heel. And as a face, you can't really hate this guy because he's, like you've seen recently in TNA, you've seen it when he was doing the angles in the early 2000s with the invasion angle. He's a very, very talented crowd reactor guy. Mike skills, he's also one of those guys that can be really funny, but he's also got the nice seriousness too. He's one of those guys you can kind of take seriously as a badass because, he won the 1996 Olympics for wrestling and gold medal, and he won it with a broken neck. So I mean, there aren't many guys that can do that. When you have a broken neck, you can't even walk, and the guy wrestled the match and won. I mean, Jesus Christ, what else can you ask? Character, I think we've already been over that. You already understand. So we're going to move on to my number 1. Now, number 1, I'm sure people around the world, you ask them these questions, number 1 wrestler of all time, they're going to say The Rock, Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, etc., Shawn Michaels, Triple H, whatnot. I don't disagree with all that. My number 1 probably be really controversial, but I gotta say it is The Undertaker. Yes, folks, The Undertaker is my number 1 wrestler of all time. You talk about in-ring, and the guy is almost 7 feet tall, 300 pounds, and can move around like he's an Olympic skater. The guy is ridiculously agile for his size, and some of the moves he pulled off were not seen at the time. He came in, he was wrestling in the late 80s as his real name, Mark Callis. I moved on to WWE in 1991, debuting as the Undertaker character, and I don't think anybody has ever done the kind of moves this guy has at his size. Character, I mean, there really isn't much else to say. I mean, his character is unbelievable. It's awesome, Nobody else has stayed in character for that long as he has. You've got to give him credit. Crowd reaction, everybody loves The Undertaker. I know you get to meet someone who says he sucks. He's probably one of the universally liked wrestlers. And Mike skills, he can cut a good promo because he has got that dark, eerie stuff to him. So it's really, you kind of believe that he is a zombie and he is The Undertaker and he's dead, especially in the early years. All right, folks, that's my top 5. Please rate and comment. I love suggestions. If you want to comment on what you would think the top 5 would be, that'd be great. Just to recap my top 5: number 5, Eddie Guerrero; number 4, Chris Jericho; number 3, Bret the Hitman Hart; number 2, the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle; and number 1 of all time, The Undertaker. Thank you for watching. This is ERocks signing out. Feel free to subscribe. Peace.